So on this one, it's telling me that I want to regroup 10 rods as a flat. So if I'm adding 1 5/10, that is represented by these right here. I have the 1 and the 5/10. And then down here I have 2 and 7/10. So it's telling me to regroup all 10 of these. I'm going to take 10 rods from the 10th side. I'm going to change it to a flat. So now I go from 1, 2, 3 to an extra 1. So now I have 4 holes and 2/10, which is how I get my answer. Do y'all see how they're regrouping all of that? They're taking all of these and squeezing them together to make one flat. Okay, let's look at another example. This one's similar, but we're subtracting. Okay, so on this subtraction one, it just wants me to find the difference. I'm still given very similar models. So if you look on this one, this is representing my first decimal. I have 2 holes, I have 4/10 and 2/100. That is putting together this decimal here. Is everybody with me on that so far? Okay, then I'm gonna be subtracting. So I'm taking away. This is the only model that I have. Now I'm gonna take away 1 whole and 24/100. So that's why I have an X here to show that I'm removing 1. I'm removing 2/10, and I'm removing 4/100, which is this amount right here. What I'm left with now is 1 and 1/10 and 8/100. Altogether, that makes 1 and 18/100. Everybody with me? Yep. Okay, let's do a couple of examples below. It says find the sum or difference. Okay, now this is where it gets tricky because we're supposed to be using models, but I'm not going to expect you to draw them all out today. So just try to picture, look above at some of the models that we have. How many flats would I have to represent this one? I would have 2 flats, and how many rods would I have? 4. Okay, if I take away one of the flats, I'm going to have how many left? 1. And if I take away 3 of the rods, how many would I have left? 1. So my answer is just 1 and 1/10. Everybody with me? Okay. The next one is 1 and 61/100 plus 22/100. Okay, what do you think my whole number will be? A 1. What will my tenths be? I have 6/10 plus 2/10. That's going to be an 8. And then I have how many hundredths? I have 3/100. So that one's going to be 1 and 83/100. The next one, now if you notice, neither one of those required any like consolidating. Remember at that top one I showed you how we regrouped right here? Okay, none of the ones we just did require regrouping. But as I continue to go down, looking at this next one ahead, I'm going to have some regrouping that I have to do. Where will that regrouping come in? Is it going to be the whole numbers, or is it going to be the tenths or the hundredths? Can you see where I might have to regroup? Jason? I have a 3 here in the ones place, and I have a 0 here in the ones place. 3 plus 0 is how much? 3. Looking at the tenths place, I have a 1 and I have a 9 here. If I combine those, what happens? Makes 10. That's where the regrouping comes in. So I'm going to just illustrate this really quick. Okay, this would be like if I had 3 flats and I have 1 rod and then I have 5 little squares. Okay, this one over here is like if I have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rods and 2 of the little cubes. Okay, notice that I have 1 plus 9. These two together, those are going to end up making 10 total. So if I take this and these together, that's going to create another flat. Do you see how that works? So I take the 3 that I already had, representing 3 holes. Now I'm going to take this tenth and these 9/10 together. That makes another hole. And then I combine all of my little individual pieces, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what's my final answer going to be then?
4.7.
Ooh, is it 0.7? Is it 7/10 or is it 700?
700.
It's 700. So be really careful about how you write your answers. Okay, 7/10 is very different than 700. It'd be like 70 hundredths. Okay. Looking at the next one, 1 and 26 hundredths minus 83 hundredths. Okay, well, this one's tricky. But what are you noticing? Is anybody noticing, like, anything at all? Jeb, what are you noticing?
We're going to have to add another flat because 8 plus 2 is 10.
So I'm going to have to, yeah, well, I'm not adding, though. I'm subtracting.
Subtracting, so we're going to take away?
Yeah, I gotta take something away. But I can't take away 8 from 2, because this is what it would look like. Think back to, like, our warm-ups, where I had something similar to this. But I had to add a 0 to the top. It was the one from today. It was on the fluency one from today, and we were subtracting. I had to put a 0 the hero, and then I just subtracted, like normal, right? So this is kind of what I would do. I want you to also start noticing that whenever I have models, when I'm regrouping, sometimes I also have to borrow. So I'm going to have to break apart this one whole flat into 10 individual rods so that I can actually take away 8 of them, okay? But if I'm looking at it just like this, same thing. Here, I'm going to do 6 minus 3 to get 3. I'm going to take away here to borrow. This is where I would break up that one flat that's like a square, okay? And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rods in addition to the 2 that are here. So now I go from having only 2 to 12. Do y'all see how that works? Now I can do 12 minus 8, which is 4, but I only have 43 hundredths left. So that's what this answer is going to be. If the model helps you, use it. Draw yourself. It only has to be squares, lines, and dots. Okay, I don't need like crazy illustrations. If it helps you, great. If this method here, just looking at it like a normal problem, is easier for you, then do that. That's what we're going to be focusing on this week anyway.
For number 3, instead of doing a lot of like reversing and stuff, I just did this. I just added this 2 over here to make 7, and then just added this.
Yep.
To that.
Yep, that's all you got to do. Yep. And so what Beckham is saying is that all the models here, he understands the math concept behind what's happening here. He was able to see, okay, I've got a 2 in the hundredths place, a 5 in the hundredths place, that's 7 hundredths. Okay, now moving to my tenths of 9 plus 1, that's a 10. And then I carry the 1 over, and that's a 4. So he did all of that without the models, and that's great. That's what I want you to eventually be able to get to. And some of us are probably already there, and maybe that makes more sense anyway. Okay, let's look at number 5 and 6. Try those with your table. If you can do it without the models, great. If you need to draw yourself some pictures, you can do that too. Okay, looking at number 5, you're adding again. So I have 2 wholes and I have 2 tenths, and I'm adding 9 tenths to it. If I was to model this, which I know looking around the room, some of you did not, and that's okay. It's totally fine. If I did model it, I would have 2 flats and I would have 2 rods to represent my first number. On this second one, I would just have 9 rods. And then I'm going to have to combine. I've got to do the regrouping to combine all of that together. So I have these 9 plus the 1 creates an extra flat. So I now have the 2 that I originally had plus the new 1 flat and 1 rod. So my final answer should be 3 and 1/10. Okay, on the next one, if I want to use models, this one's going to look like this. I have 1 flat, 5 rods, and then I have 6 of the little pieces. Okay, and then I'm going to take away 1 whole flat, and then I want to take away 8 hundredths. But the problem is I don't have 8 hundredths to take away. How many do I have? I only have 6. So what am I going to have to do? I would then have to take one of these away and add 10 in its place so that I have enough to now be able to take away 8. Do y'all see what I did there?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to cross out 8 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that leaves me with this many hundredths and this many tenths. So I have 4 tenths. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hundredths. So my answer is 0 and 48 hundredths. Okay. If you just have 48, it's not 48 wholes. You need to make sure you have a decimal before the 4. Okay, we're talking about decimals, so be very, very careful. Guys, I am not asking you to draw me a model for every single one. If you're like, oh my goodness, Miss Watson, this is so much extra work. I understand the math without the models. Great. I just want you to be able to see the model and know what it's showing. You don't have to solve them like that, okay? Caden?
I feel like it's a lot harder to do like
It's a lot more work.
But like I just don't understand why you can't just do this.
We're going to just do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Caden's asking, why can't we just solve it like normal? And we're going to. This is just a lesson because it does want you to understand what is happening. Like, why do we do the standard algorithm? Why do we borrow? It's because whenever you have a flat like this, or whenever you have a rod, and I can't actually take away, if I'm looking at my models, I don't actually have 8 hundredths to take away. That's why I have to borrow. I've got to turn this 10 into 10 individual little units. That way I have enough. So that kind of explains the math behind the borrowing and the regrouping.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't learn all that in the very beginning stages when you start learning how to borrow and regroup, but that's why it works. Okay, we're going to keep moving. So looking at, I think I did his slides today. Okay, here. So if I give you something like this, and it says, write the addition equation represented by the quick sketch. Okay, what is it showing? I have, on the left side, how many ones? Looking at this problem, what am I showing? Yes. I have 4 ones. Okay, but hold on just a second. So I want to make sure that we understand that this side right here is the problem. This is the original problem. This is showing how I get my answer, okay? So the top part of this right here, this section, I'm going to block it off with my color. This is actually going to be this part, and this bottom part here is going to be this part of my addition problem, okay? So what is my first addend going to be, the red one? What would my first addend be? 3.54. Does everybody see how I pieced that together? I take the 3 wholes, that's where I got the 3 from, the 5 tenths, that's why I put the 5 in the tenths place, and then the 4 hundredths in the hundredths place. Okay, now I'm going to do my second addend. That's this part. So what's that number going to be? 1.63. Good. Okay, do you see how I'm taking the model and I'm creating the equation that it matches? Okay, what's over here is my answer. Okay, what it's showing is that I have taken now these 10 tenth pieces and I've added it here. Do y'all see how they regrouped it? So I've added a flat because I had these 10 pieces. So 10 tenths makes a whole. And then I have 1 tenth left over, and then my hundredths stay the same. So what is my final answer going to be?
5.17.
It's going to be 5.17, which I read as 5 and 17 hundredths. Okay, we're going to skip number 8. And we're just going to jump down to number 9. I'm going to let you and your table work on that together. I don't care how you solve it, guys. If you like the regular way of doing adding and subtracting, do that. If you want to draw yourself pictures, that's okay too. We'll check it together in just a second. Class, class. Okay, looking at the peach one, the very first one I'm adding actually on the peach and the orange. So I know that my answer should be getting bigger. So the peach, the very first one, is kind of a pinky peach. Which one does that match to? Which color?
Purple.
Yep, it should be to the purple. The orange one should be to the yellow. This pink one should be to the green, and then the purple goes to the blue. How do we do? Cool. Okay, we're going to skip the puzzle, and we're going to finish up with the last page. And we're going to look at number 11. Okay, those side conversations, please wrap those up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, a football player completes a 40-yard dash in 5 8400 seconds. Another player completes it in 4 5600 seconds. How much longer? Okay, that's my key phrase there. How much longer does it take the first player to complete the 40-yard dash than the second player? Okay, how much longer? What does that mean?
Subtract.
It means subtract. Okay, so I know I've got to be subtracting something, and I know that I'm going to be subtracting the smaller number from the bigger number. So which one's bigger? 5 8400 take away or minus 4 5600. So I can set it up just like I normally would. If you like models, use the models. Otherwise, we'll just do our normal subtraction. Okay, I'm going to borrow from the 8/10 because I don't have enough hundredths to take away 6 from 4. So I'm going to take that away. That leaves me with 7/10, but now I have 14 hundredths that I can take away 6 from. So what is 14 minus 6? 8. And then I have 7/10 minus 5/10, which is 2/10, and then 5 wholes minus 4 wholes is 1 whole. So 1 2800 seconds. Okay, I want you in your table to solve number 12. You're looking for the total length. What does total mean? Adding. So you're going to be adding that one. And then I want you to solve 13 as well. So looking at 12 and 13, then we'll check. Class, city, class.
Yes, yes.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Let's look. Okay, take a look at the board. See if you solved it correctly. Looking at number 12, I worked that one in red. Oh, side conversations, please end them in 3, 2, 1. Okay, looking at number 12, all of my red writing, that is what you should have on your paper to solve number 12. You needed to be adding 4 9200 to 11 4800. You get 16 4000, or I wrote 16 4/10. Is that the same?
Yes.
Yeah, is it okay to put the 0 after the 4? Yes, it's okay. Number 13 is in blue. The wingspan is from the tip of each wing all the way across to the other tip of the wing. So 4.2, 1.1, 4.2. I'm going to add all those together. I have 9 holes and 5/10. So 9 1/2 or 9 5/10 feet. How do we feel?
Good.